Good morning to all my friends and family, and welcome to this episode of Jim's 5 a.m. Club. It's Monday morning. We've turned the clocks back an hour. Daylight savings is all but a memory now. And it's the beginning of the work week. It's overcast, it's drizzling, and it's autumn in Sydney town. What I'd love to do this morning before I commence my work shift is to go through and deliver yet another book summary. A book which is a little bit different from the typical sort of book summaries that I deliver, and it's a book that is a dual authorship by, well, actually it's a single authorship, my mistake, and it's written by Antonio Damasio, and it's a book entitled Descartes' Error, and it refers to a famous French philosopher, René Descartes, and we just do a bit of a deep dive into some of the eloquent discussions that he puts forward, that he proposes, and we look at it in detail and pick it apart and see how it applies to us in our everyday life, and how we can use some of the lessons, some of the life hacks in order to not only improve our life, but to help improve the life of others around us. So the author in this book kicks off with a concept where he talks about human willpower. And he says that human willpower is simply just another name, just another term for the idea of choosing long-term outcomes rather than short-term ones. So we are in a constant dance, in a constant battle with our minds and our bodies, with our thinking and our feeling, trying to determine what's best for us in the short term and the long term. And usually the short term feeling or the short term choices are the ones that come out on top. René Descartes details that the ancient Greeks were really good at deciphering and talking about the relationship between mind and body. The duality of the mind and body goes back to ancient Greece, and yet we mostly associate it with the philosopher, the French philosopher René Descartes. So what we're saying here is that even though René Descartes talks about this duality of mind and body and how it works, the author here is very astute in reminding us that what René Descartes talks about and discusses isn't all that different to what the ancient Greek philosophers talked about all that time ago. So nothing new. And look, just like everything in life, there's no real original thought, that people are just rehashing what has been discussed, what has been discovered in the past, and make it theirs. Let me just pop up the umbrella, because it's just starting to sprinkle, and I just want to continue this vlog. I don't want to waste this opportunity today. So the first key point that comes from this book is that while New Age or relatively new philosophers talk about different philosophies, it's important to understand that all they're doing is being messengers of things that have been discussed and identified in the past and talked about time and time again by different philosophers. So the author here kicks off where he talks about a couple of experiments that were identified, a couple of modern experiments which help us understand from a scientific perspective how mind and body are connected. And by looking at experiences, and there was a fellow known as Phineas George, who had an accident many years ago where a rod pierced his head, but not only did it pierce his head, it pierced the part of the brain that was associated with feeling, and hence this part of the brain was damaged beyond repair, and it changed this person dramatically. So we're talking about a person who was normal for most of his life, had normal sort of feelings and behaviours, and following his dramatic accident where he received some brain damage, it changed it changed his whole life, and he went from a person who could function normally to a person who was damaged and couldn't function as he functioned before, because the part of his brain that was associated with feelings was damaged. And what they were able to deduce from this particular experiment, in this particular case, was that your brain receives guidance from your emotions to help it think logically. So as I said, it's an ebb and flow. There's a dance happening between mind and body, whereas the body helps the mind and the mind helps the body, and they work together in unison to create meaning from the world around us. And if either part, either the sensory part or the emotional part, is damaged, then our ability to think and act rationally is in itself damaged as well and can't function. So what they're saying here is that Elliot lost emotion, and our bodies use emotions to help it make sense of our experiences, our body state versus our emotional state. No, they're not all that separate, and one feeds on the other, one works off the other, and if one is damaged, both are damaged at the same time. So that's why we need to manage in many ways our physical state so that we can manage our emotional state, and we need to manage our emotional state in order to manage our physical state. They both work in harmony. They both work together. They are both one. So an important sort of lesson for all of us to understand that our minds and our bodies are connected, tremendously connected. And our emotional state is a picture book of our past experiences and the feelings that we've associated with those experiences. And our body uses the various signals from both systems, from our mind and our body, to help us determine what to do, what to choose, how to behave, and how to react and respond. What the author here talks about is that we have things known as somatic markers. The word somatic comes from the Greek word soma, meaning our body. So we have somatic markers which help us understand our feelings and the things that are happening in the world around us. And what the author here says is that these somatic markers are a way the brain uses to make decisions faster by using feelings from past experiences. So what we do is, rather than think about everything in detail, what the body does is it handballs the experience, or the leading experience, or what we're leading up to the mind, and the mind scours and scans our conscious and subconscious for prior experiences, and then asks whether or not those experiences were positive or negative. And depending on those experiences and the emotions that we have had, a shortcut is found to help us make a quick decision based on prior experiences, prior patterns, and prior feelings and emotions. So it's important to appreciate and to embrace and to understand that feelings do play a major role in logical thinking. You can't separate yourself from your feelings. And I am happy and proud that I come from a culture that is highly emotional, highly attached to feeling, and by being thus, you're able to experience the full spectrum of what life has to offer, and to make nuanced sense of what is going on, because the things that go on in our lives are expressed in our feelings. And if you have strong feelings, both positive and negative, that will influence in a significant way these somatic markers that we have, and allow us to make quick decisions that are not only going to improve or impact our lives, but the lives of those around us. So culturally, you can understand that a culture that is deeply emotionally connected to the land, to music, to art, to philosophy, to previous generations, are going to live life to the fullest and make the most of everything that happens, because they're able to connect with and feed into the collective sort of emotion, the collective feeling, and to use those learnings to live, learn and pass it on to other generations. Now, a lot of people these days want to live independently of family, society, of their past, and go it alone. But what they risk is that they risk missing out on the full flavour spectrum, the full colour spectrum, the kaleidoscope of emotion, the kaleidoscope of feeling that has been captured, has been imprinted within a cultural heritage, a tapestry that has been woven over the centuries by many different experiences, but many different experiences which actually are quite relevant to the sort of things that we're all going to experience within our lives. Because whilst we try and think that we are unique and different, we are very much part of a collective which spans horizontally, and a collective which spans vertically as well. So we are linked and joined to previous experiences and previous generations, just like we're connected horizontally to what is going on around us in the world today. So the author here is that, we need to use our feelings to shortcut our decisions so that we don't go through pain and suffering again and again. Even though each person's life is different and we have, as we've mentioned before time and time again, our own separate fate, there are things that we should avoid and can avoid, because there are some things that can damage one's life to the point where they give up and they become disconnected from society. So where we can, we try and protect ourselves, we try and protect each other from bad choices and bad feelings and bad emotions that could sadden us for years to come. So we don't want to be drained, we don't want to be overly impacted from past experiences and past feelings. So what our brain does is that it takes over and automatically makes choices on our behalf based on what has happened in our past or what we've inherited from our past, from our parents, from our uncles, aunts, grandparents, school friends, teachers, and all of the previous body of experience that we've been able to tap into. So to be rational, your brain needs to listen to our emotions, our bodies and our feelings. And I guess the key takeaway from this book is that everything that happens to us is interconnected in some way, shape or form, and not to think that we can be separated from all of these things, but to fully embrace, to open up our heart, open up our minds, open up our arms and live our life as best we can, and to not to fear our feelings, our intuition, and to use both our feelings and our mind, our body and our mind, to live our life to its fullest. Anyway, take care everybody. As you can see, as you can hear, it's starting to rain here in Sydney town. Don't know if it's going to be raining all day. It looks like it's clearing up there, but we'll see how we go. Anyway, take care. Happy Monday, happy week. And for those celebrating Easter, may you have a wonderful week of preparation. The Greek Orthodox will celebrate Easter the week following this Sunday. So not this Sunday coming, but the next Sunday after that. Take care everybody, Yassas, and have a great day. Bye for now.